here today with Megan Driscoll from EvolveMKD. We're going to be talking a little bit about coronavirus, how it's affecting their business and their clients, as well as what are they doing to keep their employees safe, of course, and to keep the business running, and how everything is going to be handled once everything is back to normal. So thank you, Megan, so much for agreeing to do this with me today. I would like to start off with just explaining a little bit about your usual business model. Like, you work from an office or you usually work from home?
Yep. So thank you so much for having me. I wish it was obviously under better circumstances.
Yeah.
So EvolveMKD is a public relations and digital marketing agency, and we're based right in New York City. We have offices in Chelsea. So our usual model is we are working out of an office and we travel quite a bit. So obviously I think the coronavirus started to gather steam here around the beginning of March. So we implemented pretty quickly that first week in March. We put a halt on international travel for the business. We also implemented, my preference is people not take public transportation. So I reimbursed everyone for Ubers or Lyfts to and from the office. Of course, reminded everyone that if they were sick, please don't come in.
Yeah.
And then if anyone felt uncomfortable, I obviously gave them the option to come talk to me, and we'd work out kind of a plan for them individually. Then it became really clear on Friday, March 13th, that things were going to not get better. They were probably going to get a lot worse. So that day, about half the office worked from home, and the rest of the office left pretty early. And then really from that day forward, we've been work from home.
Yeah. How did you usually have do you have a remote friendly environment? Do people work from home occasionally, or this is the first time you've been all out?
So it's kind of ironic because we're just about to launch our work from home pilot to figure out how to do work from home as an agency, and we were just kicking that off in March, and then this kind of derailed it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
We did do, as part of kind of our prep, a work from home audit, just to understand, kind of make everyone go through a checklist of items, do you get good cell service? Do you have a printer? Do you have a place where your internet is always consistent? Just some of those things to make sure that everyone was set up for success. Because I figured once we went work from home during this, it was unclear how long we were all going to be working from home. So we had to be set up for the long haul. So it's ironic because now I feel like we're doing an agency pilot.
Yeah.
So we'll see. I think one of the things that people have maybe took for granted that now they're not is, I think, the amount of interaction that you get in person and the amount of efficiency that happens when you're actually all in an office together is really valuable. And we set up, kind of when we started this, we set up morning and nightly check-ins for the whole agency where we're all on Zoom. We see each other. They're a quick 15 minutes. It's basically a start of the day and end of the day. And I did this for a couple of reasons. One, to keep everyone on a schedule, because I think it's easy when you're working from home, especially under circumstances like this that are, there's a lot of fear, a lot of anxiety. It's easy to want to take a nap in the middle of the day, or just get completely thrown off. So I wanted everyone to stay on a productive work schedule, because we actually are still very busy, fortunately.
Yeah.
And two, I think it was important, New Yorkers really don't spend that much time in their apartment. That's part of the reason why you live in New York. Yeah. So there are a lot of people on our team who live alone. And I think it's really important to actually see people and have that human interaction, even if it's virtual. And then I think third, it's obviously been, I think, a big team bonding experience in a weird way. We've learned a lot about each other in this time. I think we're 27 people now. So we did an exercise the other day where we all went around and talked about what we learned about ourselves over the last week during the situation. And that was, that was really sweet and good. And I think, I think in situations like this, there's always a silver lining. And for me, the silver lining so far has been to see truly what wonderful people I have on my team and how they're really pulling for each other and pulling together for our clients and trying to just keep our spirits up, even if the world around us is not doing too well.
That's good. It seems that you have it all figured out. Megan mentioned...
I wouldn't say that.
Christine mentioned that you actually even did a workout, that you had a yoga all together.
We did. So I just knew that Friday when I called it, I was like, this is going to be a long haul and it's going to be strange because it's not a normal work from home, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like you work from home and you still can go out to dinner, you can still like do things.
Yeah.
Like you're working from home and you're home all the time. So I think like having an end to the work day is really important because you could absolutely work forever all night long and that's not good. But two, I think fitness and moving is really important. One, obviously from like an immunity issue and just being healthy, but two, I think when you're in situations like this where you're not moving a lot, there's a lot of anxiety, you just don't know what's going to happen. There's a lot of unknowns. I think doing things like working out, we did yoga, we did a little bit of meditation, we've done some kind of like HIIT training. We're doing some new ones next week. I think having that is just really important. And so if it's an opportunity to have everyone develop like good habits, it's another good thing to do.
Yeah, but that's a great initiative. Another way to bond the team, even though you're all far away from each other. You mentioned that your business is still working properly. You're still busy. The clients are still working and everything. It's like it's not like often that you hear that in these situations. I had a call yesterday with people who had their trainings canceled and meetings canceled and businesses that they were supposed to do within the next few months. Everything was postponed. So like, why do you think it hasn't affected you so much? Is it because of the nature of the job that you do? I mean, everybody still has to do marketing, I guess, especially now.
I mean, so like it definitely has impacted us. Like we've definitely had clients like cut their budget over the last like 2 weeks, at least through Q2. We have had some things get postponed. We are doing a lot of scenario planning. I think what's been helpful though, I think the nature of our business, one, a lot of it's digital. So that obviously there's no reason that can't continue. And two, a lot of the work we do for our clients is also a little bit more strategic. So, I think where some firms that are straight publicity or straight events, they're probably having a little bit of trouble right now. Our scope of all of our work is such a mixed bag of items that, which is fantastic. We've seen we've gotten some new projects that have kind of offset some of the ones that have been cut. So I said this to the team last week. I just think this time we're at home is definitely going to be a roller coaster. And even truly, I think everyone needs to have the headset that the rest of the year is probably going to be a roller coaster because who knows how long this lasts. What does going back to work look like? It probably doesn't look totally normal day one. So I think we just have to learn to become one with the things we can't control, but really the things we can control, like our work product, being there for our clients, being there for each other, staying healthy, like we absolutely should focus on that.
Yeah, that's good. Like, do you expect that like you'll be able to go back to business as usual once this is all over, hopefully sometime soon?
Yeah, I mean, I hope so. I think a lot of this depends on how long this lasts. Does it come back in the fall? Like, is this really, we're done with it? I think there just are too many unknowns. I would say that probably it's not going to be like back to business as usual. Like there's probably going to be like a new business as usual for like a set period of time. But I think the good thing about being in New York and being a New Yorker is that we all got through 9/11. We got through Sandy. We've kind of had a couple of these things that have happened, and this is like 9/11, Sandy, and the 2008 financial crisis, like all smushed into one, which is obviously a lot. But I think as a city, we're pretty resilient, so we'll get through it. And also, we have the cutest governor, so
that's what I heard.
Yeah, he's the best. I think he's like everyone's crush right now.
Well, there's an upside to it. I guess he's a lot on TV now and everything. So
yeah,
that's good.
Every morning it's must-watch TV. His press conferences. So it's like the one thing keeping us all sane. But that also speaks to, I think, the importance of communications in a time like this. It's like he is everyone's favorite person to listen to because he's communicating. Like he's not sugarcoating anything. He's telling us what the deal is, but he's giving us like facts. He's being very measured in how he tells us the information. He's being solution oriented. He's giving us updates. So I think if anything, what this whole experience shows is that the role of communications is even more important in times like this. And I think you have a lot of examples right now happening in this country where you can see it done really well and you see it contrasted with being done very poorly.
Yeah.
And you can see what the outcome is of that.
I think it's like that everywhere. I think it's in every country, no matter how big or small, you have a couple of those people who are really delivering everything in a nice way and trying to communicate everything properly, and then other people who are not doing such a good job, or not even trying to do such a good job. But yeah, the communication really is something that's been, like, even for us, we are a remote friendly company. We do work from home quite often. We have people at least who some of us work from home at least one per week. Others work more frequently or whatever. But this way, it's so weird, especially because since we started working from home, we don't have a fixed working hours, because we talked about it, and obviously with the stress of everything, and we decided that we can work a bit in the morning, then a bit more in the afternoon. Let's like split it 4 hours in the morning, 4 hours in the afternoon, so that it's easier on everybody. Plus, there are people who live with their families. They have kids. They have the dogs.
But I think that's actually the hardest thing, right? Like, I think what's going to be one of the challenges coming out of this is, since so many schools have said that like no one's coming back till the fall, like all these people who work, right? I mean, right now, basically, you're dealing with. We have a client who she gets up at like 4 a.m. does her work, and then she has 2 twin 5-year-olds. She's with them all day, like they're in kindergarten, so they've got like homework or whatever. She's got to homeschool them, puts them to bed, and then she works again from 6 to 11 o'clock at night. And so I think even as we start to get back, the childcare question, I think, is going to come to the forefront, because there just aren't like that many. If schools close, like there aren't that many options. So.
Yes, they actually started, it's quite interesting. They started doing school over TV here for middle.
And they're doing that here too, like over like virtual, like over Zoom and like Google and things like that.
Yeah, here it's on national television on a couple of different channels for all grades. You have on the website, you can see the exact, like the classes, when you have which class, and they actually give them homework. And teachers have been really dedicated working with parents through WhatsApp groups and things like that. So it's a really weird time for any industry. I mean, I guess that's probably, let's say, like the luckiest one in this case are people who are in a digital environment. Like they have much better chances of going through this and surviving this as a business than other industries. Yeah.
I mean, I agree with that. I think it's just, I think there are just so many variables right now. It's just impossible to predict. I mean, here in the U.S., we just passed like a stimulus, or we did just pass it, or it's about to get passed. And it's still like, even for a business like mine, I'm not 100% clear, like if that's going to help.
Yeah.
Or what, so I don't know. So I think a lot of this is going to come down to how long does this last? What kind of government like stimulus do you get? I mean, because basically all of my friends that are bartenders, hairstylists, fitness instructors have no jobs.
Yeah. Actually, just before we started the interview, I saw that the information showed on the data from last week that more than 3 million Americans applied for unemployment last week. That's insane.
No, it's crazy. And look, I think it's different than some other things we've gone through as a country, because I do think once this is over, right, people get right back to it.
Yeah.
But I think there are some businesses, if this goes a long time, that they can't weather that storm. And that's, I think as a business owner, that's one of the things that has been so frustrating for me about this, is it's truly totally outside of your control.
Yeah.
But I also think that's the lesson, right? Is like you don't have a lot of control. So it's like coming to terms with, as a control freak, A-type New Yorker, like learning to become okay with that. So
yeah, that's one of my problems, that I just can't get used to the fact that I'm not able to control everything that's happening around me, and it's frustrating. It just gives you more anxiety and pressure about it. But you mentioned that, like, one of the probably the biggest lessons that you learn from all this experience is, first of all, that you have an amazing group of people working with you. Second of all, how important communication is. What are some other things that you noticed about managing a remote team and having a remote company, and what are some of the tips you could share with people who are like almost any company in the world is working like this right now. And I think a lot of people have no idea what they're doing. And it's really stressful. It can get even more stressful because you've got that anxiety of like, I have no idea what I'm doing, what's happening with my employees, what's happening with
I think
project.
everyone right now is just like faking it till they make it, because like no one's in a situation. I thought, so when we went work from home, the couple of things I told my senior leadership team right away was we have to do that opening meeting and that closing meeting, and I have to see everyone. I think that's really important. Two, I wanted all of them to set up. Obviously we work on different clients, so we have different account teams within the agency. I wanted them all to set up one weekly account team meeting. So that way, like, they had an opportunity where those account team members were seeing each other, talking about the work. Because like I said before, you do miss those like run into each other in the hallway or like shout across the office conversations. So making sure we were still giving them an opportunity to have that. I also put in, our senior leadership team always would meet quickly, but I put in, we basically meet now Monday, Wednesdays, Fridays, just because so many things are changing so quickly, both from a financial perspective as well as like the industry and like all these other things, that just having like more check-ins, I think is better than less. And then I would say the other things is I've been trying to keep everyone focused on, there are things you can do during this time period that are productive to building the business. Like we've been working on redoing our website. We've been working on redoing all of our case studies and our new business decks. Like this is a fantastic time. We need to do that work anyway. So this is a fantastic time to do it and spend some time on it, because when this is over, we obviously are gonna have to go gangbusters, business development. So like, let's just queue up everything we can to be ready for that. And then the other thing I keep reminding people is like, look, I think right now, obviously New York City is an epicenter. So the most important thing is to stay healthy. And so I keep reminding people that, prioritize sleep over everything else. I think getting outside when the weather is nice, you just don't realize, I think, how much that impacts your psyche. So really making sure that you're taking care of yourself and that you're also getting, I think, some alone time. Everyone who lives with someone, I think you're like around that person constantly now. So making sure you're building in like walks by yourself or like whatever you need to do. And for other business owners, I would say I've really prioritized also taking care of myself, because I think my job now is not only keeping the business successful and solvent and running, but it's also keeping the morale of my team members up, and also like being there for our clients, because they're all having the same anxieties and stressors that we're all having, right? So making sure that like I'm in a good, rested, healthy like place to be there for my team and also to be there for my clients.
It's really like we've been having like demo calls with some people who are, everybody is going out of their minds, I think, thinking about what's going to happen when people start working from home. How is this going to work? How are we going to communicate? What's going to happen here? What's going to happen there? I read a tweet from Slack's co-founder that they had an insane number of new users in the past 2 weeks because everybody is now working remotely and nobody knows what they're doing. So it's
and really Slack for us, we implemented Slack actually earlier this year, and I would say I'm so glad we did it. Because between Slack and Zoom, like you really do stay connected, and I think you can send funny things to each other, and like I think it just really helps like everyone feel like they're connected, even if you're not seeing people in person.
We've been using Slack since the beginning, like even before we started working remotely while we were in the office and everything. And one thing I noticed after just like a couple of days of working from home, I realized that we're using the random channel so much more often than we used to, because we were sitting in the office. We were sitting in the office, making jokes in the office, talking about whatever in the office. But now everybody is sharing funny things through random, and everybody is talking there on a daily basis.
We did it. We did a thing the other morning in our morning meeting where everyone had to share their favorite coronavirus meme on Slack. And that was like really fun. So
that's a good one.
It's good to like keep things. You need some levity.
Definitely. We did a couple of, I said that to Christine as well before we started. We did a couple of house party app meetings over the weekend just to talk just to talk about what's happening, how we're handling everything. And it's just like, it's very important. We're very tight. We're a small company and we're very tight with each other. We're very close with each other. We go out together. We spend time together outside of work. So it's been really strange not having those people around every day. And those little meetings and little talks, even if it's just a chit chat and not work related, especially if it's not work related, it's really.
Well, I think sometimes, right, like at a normal work day, you're not always talking,
of course,
work related stuff, right? You are like gossiping. So at least Slack allows us to like sort of mimic that a little bit. So.
Yeah, that's good. Is there anything else you'd like to share with the business owners who are struggling with this right now?
I mean, one of the things that I feel like has really been helpful for me, and I know not everyone might be in a position to do this, but we've, obviously philanthropy is a really big part of Evolve's culture and philosophy, and it was really important to me from like day one. So we've actually every week, not huge amounts of money, but every week we've tried to pick during this an organization that we can donate to. So this week we donated to a restaurant workers fund for all the restaurant workers in New York that have been laid off. Last week we did like the food bank of New York City for folks during this who like need food deliveries. We're looking at what we're going to do next week. So I would say that reminds me, it's a good weekly reminder for me, even when things get yucky or clients are cutting their budgets, like that we have purpose that's like greater than this. And so I'd recommend like whatever you can do, like finding moments like that as a business owner. And I think that keeps you going.
Yeah, that's a good initiative. I like that. Well, that will be all. I'd like to thank you very much for participating in this. It was a pleasure talking to you and discussing all this and seeing how things look like on the other side in New York. And I really hope that this is gonna stop soon and that we're all gonna come through this a bit stronger than we started, and we're definitely gonna come out stronger through this. So I really hope that you'll be able to get the business back on track completely once this is over, and that your team will actually get used to working remotely. So you as well.
I think we're going to be pros at it now after this is all over. So.
Yeah, I think none of us will work.
I don't think anyone's ever going to want to work from home ever again. I agree.
Yeah, we're all like, we should probably work a bit more from home, and then now I don't think anybody's going to be working from home for a long time. Okay, so thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you so much for having me.
Wish you a good day and have a wonderful weekend ahead.
You too, and stay healthy.
Stay safe. Yeah.